So this is what I usually do. Instead of doing like standard swatches, I like to paint leaves.
And with Artistry by Altenew, we really wanted to make sure that we're representing true pigments in these colors. Hi, my name is Jen Raza, and I am one of the co-founders of Altenew, and I work on a lot of our product development.
Hi everyone, my name is Tasnim Ahmed, and I'm the other co-founder of Altenew.
I really love the watercolor tubes that we are finally releasing, and I say finally because this has been in the works behind the scenes for a really long time. As a watercolor painter myself, I really love using watercolor tubes because I love that vibrant intensity that you get with the color right out of the tubes. You can dilute it to any amount of water saturation as you'd like. And I think it's really fun to mix and play around with the different colors. Watercolor tubes are something that we've been wanting to release for a while after all of the success of our pan sets. And we love the pan sets, and we know that our customers love the pan sets. And this just offers a little bit of a different technique and some different colors. And I think that these work really well hand in hand. So there's no reason for you to have to pick between either having the tubes or having the pans.
That's great. I agree with all that, Jen. I want to say that one of my favorite features, besides all that you mentioned, is the fact that it reactivates with water really fast. One of the issues I ran into while using other watercolor tubes is that I would leave them to dry on my palette, but when I would go back, it would take a while for me to reactivate the paint. But with this new watercolors that we're releasing, you put a dab of water with your brush and color's ready to go. So yeah, they're very highly pigmented and reactivates with water very quickly. So I love that about them.
And the other thing I'm looking forward to as well is the fact that they're each sold separately, so you can really build your custom palette. And if you have a favorite color and you use up that tube really quickly, go ahead and just buy that one tube. So you can really make this set whatever it is that you need for your painting.
It was quite a long process. We had samples from different places. We tested a lot of different samples, and the reason why it took us so long is because we were very adamant that we get the best quality out there. We tested different colors and how they mix well.
Yeah, I have a drawer full of stacks of watercolor paper with swatches all over them from when we did our testing. It's really fun, but you also have to look at it from a technical perspective. Like Tasnim mentioned, quality and color selection. There's so much that we wanted to make sure that our paints were living up to a high standard, including the light fastness and opacity. And there was just so much to check, and it was really fun. But I have all of these swatches, and I feel like it's like the history of the production of these tubes and testing them from behind the scenes. Like, I remember all of those different paints that we tested, and we really wanted to make sure that they worked well on different watercolor papers. So not just the watercolor paper that we carry at Altenew and at artistrybyaltenew.com, but also any other papers that you may have in your collection. We wanted any customer to be able to use these regardless of the paper or the paint brushes or any of the supplies that they have. So earlier we talked about how just pans are different from tubes in general, and we're going to have a lot of videos coming out about techniques and different ways that you can use these watercolor tubes. So we'll get more in depth on that there. But one thing that I noticed is really different about these is the color selection. So when we were selecting colors for our existing pan sets, we had Altenew colors in mind. When our customers were predominantly card makers, we thought it was really important to have the colors coordinate with our lines of ink and embossing powders and paper and all of the above that we have here at Altenew. And now we're really reaching a wider audience that includes artists. And with Artistry by Altenew, we really wanted to make sure that we're representing true pigments in these colors. So all of the color names that we have for these paints are the actual pigment colors. So those of you who are in the art world are probably already familiar with these color names.
That's great, Jen. In terms of how are these different than gouache, so from my understanding, gouache is similar to watercolor, except that the pigments are slightly larger. That makes sense. The particles are larger than those are used in watercolor. and that gives it a more opaque look. So I wouldn't compare it directly to watercolor tubes because they are not the same exact thing, even though they're like similar. They do both react with water, and you would use them obviously with watercolor brushes or watercolor paper. But with the gouache, you can, depending on the consistency that you mix it with how much water you add, you can get opaque look, versus if you add a lot of water, you can get a liner similar to watercolor look. Whereas the watercolor tubes in general, they have very fine pigment particles, so that's why that gives it this transparency look that you get with watercolors.
So many of the techniques that you can do with these new watercolor tubes are similar to the techniques that you already know from using our pan sets. We're going to have a lot of videos coming out on our YouTube channel and also at Artistry by Altenews YouTube channel, and you can get a lot of the details over there.
So for me, I love painting and coloring, and I'm definitely looking forward to coloring all these stamped images that we have, as well as just practicing freehand painting. I love trying out different brush strokes, leaves and flowers, depending on what type of brush you use and the way you do your strokes, you can get like really nice variations of shapes. And so that's how you like experiment with the flowers and leaves. Let me show you how I swatch my watercolor tube. So this is what I usually do. Instead of doing like standard swatches, I like to paint leaves. And yeah, so I'm really looking forward to like playing with these tubes, mixing colors and painting different shapes.
And my answer is pretty similar to Tasnim's. I feel like as artists and crafters, we're always working on our skills, and we don't always have time to devote to every aspect of crafting and artistry that we love. So I definitely want to get back into more watercolor painting, maybe doing some florals and coloring in some of my favorite Altenews stamp images. But I also want to do some more fashion illustrations. I used to paint a lot of fashion illustrations about 10 years ago, and I really want to get back into it. Thank you so much for watching this video. We're excited about these tubes. We hope that you're just as excited as we are. Don't forget, if you have any questions, please pop them down in the comments and we'll answer them as soon as we can.
We cannot wait for you to use these awesome new watercolor tubes.
Bye.